Chapter 1145. Effortless Feng Family's Temporary Courtyard in Miracle Healer City. Feng Yunqin took the medicinal pills that the manservant bought, and he smelled it with a frown. New medicinal pills? How many prescriptions do you have? Suddenly, her movements paused, and a puzzled look appeared on her face. Hey, that's not right. Why does the smell and color of these medicinal pills look so familiar? Feng Yunqin hesitated for a moment and put the medicinal pills in her mouth. The rich spiritual power instantly flooded her entire body as if nourishing all her meridians. But it was not a tidal force, but a gentle soothing. It seemed to be repairing her meridians. Feng Yunqin's eyes widened suddenly, showing an expression of disbelief. Why does this feel so similar to the spirit healing pill that you gave me in the secret realm? Speaking of the spiritual healing pill that you gave to everyone in the elusive forest, secret realm, everyone who survived had a fresh memory. Because even the best quality spiritual healing pill sold by Shengda Hall did not have the feeling of replenishing the spiritual power and gently nourishing the meridians after taking it. At that time, Feng Yunqing did not believe that those spirit healing pills were made by Shiyu. Although Shiyu is the young owner of Shengda Hall, he is still young after all. Besides, he is only at the foundation establishment stage. It is impossible for him to refine such pure grade 4 medicinal pills. Then there is only one possibility. These medicinal pills are not made by Shiyu, but he brought them into the secret realm secretly. If Shiyu really brought them in, that was the most serious and vicious cheating incident since Miracle Healer Academy is founded. By the time Shiyu's end, therefore, after coming out of Elusive Forest, I have been trying to find the whereabouts of these medicinal pills in Miracle Healer City, but to no avail. But now, this is really effortless. Feng Yunqing smirked, took the medicinal pills, and left the room. She quickly found Chan Jianqing's location and handed over the medicinal pills in her hand. At this time, Chen Jianqing was happy that he could be admitted to the Academy Student Council, and he was also afraid that she would drag him down. Seeing Feng Yunqing approaching at this time, he stood up abruptly and asked anxiously, Have you found a way to deal with Shiyu? He was now an intern officer of the Academy Student Council. He was destined to have a bright future. He had already come this far. How can he be dragged down by Shiyu? Feng Yunqing handed out the medicinal pills in her hand. Chen Jianqing opened the porcelain bottle and saw that there was only one medicinal pill inside, but the spirit was extremely rich and pure. He frowned and said, Miss Feng, why are you giving me this medicinal pill? Feng Yunqing sneered, In Elusive Forest, you haven't taken the medicinal pill that Shiyu handed you over, so you may not be clear. For these medicinal pills, I think no one who survived the second assessment will not know. It is exactly the same as the spirit healing pill Shiyu gave us in terms of color and efficacy. So what? Chen Jianqing wondered. Shiyu gave us spiritual healing pills in Elusive Forest, and he said he refined it himself. Ha ha ha, spirit healing pill. Stop joking. Feng Yunqing sneered faintly. You can take one and try it out. How can a normal spirit healing pill have such an effect? This is not a spirit healing pill, but a brand new medicinal pill, 5 spiritual pill, sold by Shengda Hall. Chapter 1146. Conspiracy what? Chen Jianqing was startled. Then an excited expression appeared on his face. You mean? Feng Yunqing sneered and said, I have shown these medicinal pills to a pill refiner in my family. He said that with Shiyu's cultivation, it is impossible for him to refine medicinal pills of this quality and color. What do you think this means? Chen Jianqing was stunned for a moment, then he let out some crazy laughter. Ha ha ha, Shiyu, you bitch, this time you are dead. You dare to bring medicinal pills into the assessment? This time, I will trample you under my feet. I'll see how arrogant can you be. Feng Yunqing slowly let out a breath, and a shallow smile bloomed on her ordinary face. Chen Jianqing, I hope you won't disappoint me. After she finished speaking, she turned and walked out. Chen Jianqing was excited while holding the medicinal pills in his hand, but he couldn't help but ask, Miss Feng, are you helping me because you have a grudge against Shiyu? You don't need to know that. You better remember who you are. You just have to do your task. Chen Jianqing looked at her leaving back and snorted coldly. Isn't she just an ugly old woman? Why is she bossing me around? Even Fairy Jishi is polite to me. Humph. When I get rid of Shiyu, do I still need her? After Chan Jianchen got the medicinal pills, he went to look for candidates who had participated in the second round of assessment. At first, these people ridiculed him, but after seeing the evidence Chan Jianchen produced and his description, they all fell into shock and contemplation. A conspiracy against Hushi was growing inside and outside the Miracle Healer Academy. But at this time, Hushi didn't realize it at all. Hushi kept in mind that her main purpose in coming to this academy was to find Wu Qi. So, as soon as she got the first class inscribed jade slip that represented the students of the Heaven Medical Branch, she began to take Qing Wan to wander around the school. Heaven Medical Branch was worthy of being the highest level branch in the entire academy. The treatment enjoyed by the students was completely different. For example, this first class inscribed jade slip, which represented Heaven Medical, allowed Hushi to go through almost every corner of the school. But if the inscribed jade slip was of the yellow medical, there would be much less places to go. Of course, even if there was an inscribed jade slip, there were still many restricted areas in the Miracle Healer Academy, which cannot be entered by the current Hushi. The barrier there was even stronger than the barrier outside Miracle Healer Academy. Hushi strolled around the academy and determined that Shaoli in the void did not feel any Wu Qi's breath, so she had to return without success. However, her academy life has just begun, so there was no need to rush at all. As long as Wu Qi was in the Miracle Healer Academy, they would find him one day. The Heaven No. 1 dormitory was a one-person courtyard. Hushi saw Wei Qingyuan pacing back and forth at the door as soon as she arrived at the entrance of the courtyard. As soon as Wei Qingyuan saw Hushi, he stepped forward with a smile and habitually put his hand on her shoulder. Little Yuer, you disappear on the first day of the academy? This miracle healer the academy is very big. Aren't you afraid of getting lost in it? Hushi gave him a contemptuous slanted glance. Then she picked up his dirty hand that was on her shoulder. Do you think I'm you? Go out without thinking? Wei Qingyuan smiled as if he didn't care at all. Chapter 1147. A patient seeing that Hushi took out the inscribed jade slip and opened the barrier of her courtyard, he hurriedly followed. As he walked, he praised, Not bad, not bad. It is indeed the highest Heaven No. 1 dormitory most advanced in Miracle Healer Academy. It is much bigger than my No. 2 dormitory. Look at those spiritual plants. I even want to stay here and not leave. Before entering the room, Hushi turned around and looked at Wei Qingyuan with her hands folded on her chest. Say, what do you want from me? Wei Qingyuan touched his nose embarrassingly. Can't I just walk around? Seeing Hexahaf smiling and looking at him, he couldn't help raising his hand in surrender. Okay, I'll just say it. As he spoke, the smile on his face faded in an instant, and the always cynical face became more solemn than ever before. Shiyu, I heard that Yangon City's young city lord's strange disease was cured by you. Is that true? Hushi's face was surprised. She didn't know why Wei Qingyuan suddenly mentioned this matter, but it was a fact, so she did not intend to conceal it at all. After receiving a positive answer, Wei Qingyuan's eyes lit up slightly. His voice became a little deeper. Shiyu, I have an abrupt request. I wonder if you can help me see a patient. Hushi was surprised. Why? He also has vampire disease? No. Wei Qingyuan shook his head. His disease may be more troublesome than vampire disease. You will know if you see the patient. As he said, he stared at Shiyu with a hint of pleading in his scorching eyes. Shiyu, please. Ever since I met Wei Qingyuan, although this guy has been speaking in a funny tone, he has almost never asked anything from anyone. Even when facing the black bear, he had never shown such a solemn expression. Recalling Wei Qingyuan's supports for her in the past few days, as well as the friendship fighting side by side in the elusive forest, she did not refuse. Wei Qingyuan quickly took Shiyu out of the dormitory area. They walked a long way in the academy, and they even passed the Huang dormitory, but Wei Qingyuan hadn't stopped. Compared with the bustling luxury of the Heaven dormitory area, this place was more like a slum or a place where servants lived. Hushi frowned and looked around. It was very remote, and it could even be said that it was deserted. Shiyu, right here. Wei Qingyuan's voice came. In front of him was a somewhat dilapidated house. Hushi was about to step forward when a figure suddenly appeared out of nowhere. Stop! Who are you? What are you doing here? Hushi was taken aback. The person who came out did not have any spiritual power fluctuations. She couldn't even see through his cultivation. However, those sharp eyes gave her a terrifying sense of coercion. At this moment, Hushi also discovered that there were still many people guarding the dilapidated house, and each of them had at least the gold core stage cultivation. What the hell is this place? Senior Wu, this is a doctor I recruited. He is here to treat the patient inside. Wei Qingyuan hurriedly stepped forward with a respectful expression. Seeing Wei Qingyuan, the man didn't stop him anymore. He just glanced at Hushi suspiciously and disbelievingly, then he quietly retreated. Wei Qingyuan breathed a sigh of relief, quickly pulled Hushi up, and hurried into the courtyard. This tense atmosphere and the terrifying pressure of the guards made Hushi think that some big shot lived in the courtyard. Chapter 1148. Little E, but she didn't expect to see that it was actually a very ordinary young man living inside. The young man's appearance looked ordinary. He looked like he was 17 years old, and his cultivation was only a high-level meridian stage. His clothes were worn out and plain. There was nothing special about him at all if there was anything special about him. Hushi glanced at the young man's face. His face was slightly pale, and the muscles of his eyelid would often shake involuntarily. What made Hushi strange was that the young man's aura wandered in disorder, and it was often intermittent and difficult. It seemed that both his meridians and dantian were partially damaged. As soon as the young man saw Wei Qingyuan, he quickly walked over. Brother Wei, you are here. There was a visibly happy expression on his face, as if seeing Wei Qingyuan was a very happy thing. However, as soon as the boy's eyes fell on Hushi, his body trembled reflexively, showing a look of fear. Brother Wei, did you bring another doctor to treat me? A trace of guilt flashed across Wei Qingyuan's face. He lowered his eyes slightly, but he still forced a smile. Little E, you are sick. Of course you need to see a doctor to survive. The young man's body trembled again. The muscles on his face twitched a bit due to the pain. He looked at Hushi and said with a low and weak voice as if he was pleading, Doctor, can you not let me eat those medicinal pills that make me pain? I just can't take it anymore. Wei Qingyuan's body froze slightly, and he turned his head with his eyes closed. Hushi smiled slightly and said without hesitation, Okay, what? Wei Qingyuan and the young man said at the same time. Wei Qingyuan calmed down and said, Shiyu, sorry that I lost my manner. Why don't you give Xiaoyi a diagnosis first? Hushi stepped forward and clasped the young man's wrist with one hand. The young man stared blankly at Hushi's slender, well-proportioned, jade-like hand on his black wrist, and he was in a daze for a while. Hushi had already let go, and he said lightly, Okay, my diagnosis is over. The conclusion is similar to what I observed. Wei Qingyuan widened his eyes and said in disbelief, You didn't use spiritual power to check his body. You just held little Yi's hand, and the diagnosis is over? Hexahaf said with a smile, If you doubt a person, don't use him. I thought you have already prepared for this when you came to me. I have to make this clear that I can treat him, but you must follow my treatment plan. Otherwise, you should look for another doctor. Wei Qingyuan looked at the young man and then at Hushi, struggling. The young man suddenly said, I want this doctor to treat me. The young doctor in front was so immature and beautiful, but he gave him a feeling of unmatched power. The most important thing was that the young doctor didn't look at him like a tool that could be used or a medicine man who could be manipulated at will, but he regarded him as a patient who really needed treatment. Just for such a gaze, he was willing to try. Wei Qingyuan closed his eyes and said in a low voice after a long time, Okay, Shiyu, I can agree to your own treatment plan. However, you must also promise me one thing. Say it. Hushi looked at Wei Qingyuan, and she felt the solemn and worried expression on the young man's face. Chapter 1149. Shiyu cheating? Absolutely, absolutely must not let Little E die. Otherwise, I will be implicated, and you may die along with me. If you can do that, then try it. The remote and dilapidated courtyard of the academy is guarded by experts outside. If the young man in front of me dies, even I have to be buried with him? However, this young man looks like he is not taken seriously, and he even suffered a lot. What is really going on? There was a thoughtful glimmer in Hushy's eyes, and she nodded slowly in agreement. For the next 2 days, Hushy began her formal education at Heaven Medical Branch. This kind of life was very foreign to Hushy and very interesting. She had learned a lot as an assassin before, and her knowledge had already surpassed the students of her age, but she had never experienced the real student life. But now, listening to the class with everyone in the classroom every day and receiving new knowledge made her feel wonderful and fresh. The students assigned to the Heaven Medical Branch were the true geniuses of Miracle Healer Academy. Among all the students, Shiyu's cultivation was the lowest. Therefore, in the past 2 days, people had always looked sideways at Shiyu. What kind of genius and what kind of background can let a martial artist of the Foundation Establishment stage enter the Miracle Healer Academy? This has never happened before. Moreover, Shiyu's appearance was outstanding, which made many female students pay close attention to her. Even when the class was over, there were bold girls who invited Shiyu to practice together next time. However, on this day, when Hushy walked into the lecture room, she clearly felt the strange atmosphere. Almost at the moment she appeared, everyone turned their eyes to her. Unlike the eager, curious, and jealous eyes from before, everyone looked at her with contempt now. She could even hear someone scolding her shameless in a low voice. Hushy raised her eyebrows. Before she could react, Wei Qingyuan, who was beside her, couldn't stand it any longer. He grabbed the person and said coldly, "What did you just say?" It was this person who was calling Hushy shameless just now. Wei Qingyuan's face was fierce, causing the man to tremble involuntarily. Many people in Heaven Medical Branch already knew that Wei Qingyuan had a mysterious and special identity, and his strength was also very powerful. But the man immediately came back to his senses and sneered. "I scolded some people for being shameless. So what? Am I wrong for stating the facts?" "What do you mean by that?" Wei Qingyuan's face turned gloomy. The man flicked away Wei Qingyuan's hand holding his clothes, and he smiled in a strange tone. "Junior fellow apprentice Wei, I advise you to stay away from the shameless person, so as not to be sullied by his reputation." Wei Qingyuan's eyes turned cold, and he suddenly exuded a fierce aura. "Speak clearly. If you dare to slander Shiyu indiscriminately, don't blame me for being rude." It spread all over the academy now. "Junior fellow apprentice Wei. Don't you know?" The man was not afraid at all. Good glanced at Hushy contemptuously, and he sneered. "We originally thought that someone must be a genius to be able to enter the Miracle Healer Academy as a foundation establishment. Who knows, he isn't a genius at all. He simply passed the assessment through cheating. Wouldn't it be a slander for our Heaven Medical Branch to let such a scum stay in our Heaven Medical Branch?" Wei Qingyuan was stunned for a moment, and the fierce aura dissipated a little. "You said Shiyu cheated?" Chapter 1150. Deceive. What the hell is going on here? The man sneered. If it's not him, who else would it be? Who else in the entire Miracle Healer Academy doesn't know about his scandal? Well, if you don't believe it, you can ask your peers who participated in the assessment with you. They will never lie to you, right? The man pointed not far ahead. There were 2 martial artists, He Jiang and He Jieyun, who participated in the entrance examination together with Shiyu and Wei Qingyuan. They originally went through the Heaven Medical Branch to the elder's office to get the materials, but they were called over by the students of the Heaven Medical Branch. Seeing them, Wei Qingyuan immediately breathed a sigh of relief. "He Jiang, what is going on here? They said that there are rumors about Shiyu cheating in the academy. You participated in the assessment together with Shiyu. I believe you know her strength better than anyone else." He Jieyun snorted coldly and disdainfully. There was no more gratitude to Shiyu in his eyes. "Shiyu, I didn't expect you to be such a person. We are all deceived by you. Yeah, I really regarded you as my savior before, but I didn't expect you to be such a shameless person. It's all because of you that everyone in the same batch of our assessments are being laughed at. They said that we cheated just like you to get in. We are all dragged down by you." Wei Qingyuan was stunned for a moment, and he said in disbelief, "Why do you even say that? What happened?" Exactly, He Jiang and He Jian all experienced life and death with Shi Yu in the elusive forest, and they have always been grateful for Shi Yu's life-saving grace. Why did their attitude suddenly change? He Jiang gave Hashi a cold contempt before looking at Wei Qingyuan. "Brother Wei, there is something you probably don't know yet. During this time, Shengda Hall has released a kind of medicinal pill called 5 spiritual pills. This 5 spiritual pill is a grade 4 best quality pill. Even in Shengda Hall, it is considered to be the rarest. However, this rare 5 spiritual pill is exactly the same as the spiritual healing pill that Shiyu gave us in the secret realm." So what? Wei Qingyuan knew about the existence of the 5 spiritual pill from Shiyu, and he was the first to buy the 5 spiritual pill. He Jian snorted coldly. So what? These are grade 4 medicinal pills, which have never been seen before. Shiyu is just a foundation establishment. How can he refine it? Yes. He Jiang nodded immediately. Furthermore, for fear that Shiyu has been wronged, some people have shown this kind of medicinal pills to the elders in the academy. The elders said that even they can't make them. They said that only Grandmaster Pill Refiner can refine this best quality pill. Isn't that a clear fact? Chapter 1151. Can't tell right from wrong, Brother Wei? Don't talk nonsense. The Heaven Medical Branch's senior, who had just argued with Wei Qingyuan, sneered after hearing this. Who doesn't know that the medicinal pills in Shengda Hall are made by Shiyu's master? Even if the 5 spiritual pills are hers, it didn't mean that she could bring them into the secret realm. Otherwise, it will be unfair to everyone in the Miracle Healer Academy, don't you think so? He Jian immediately echoed. Senior is right. Shiyu can bring the 5 spiritual pill into the secret realm. Who knows if he also brought other things in? How did he get a high score of over 900 in the second round of assessments? This is too unfair for us who are assigned to the lower branches. That's right, such a person should be kicked out of Miracle Healer Academy, otherwise it's an insult to the entire academy. The entire Heaven Medical Branch burst into a loud discussion, and everyone looked at Hashi with rejection and contempt. Wei Qingyuan's forehead burst with blue veins, and his eyes were full of anger. Different from these people, he had totally acknowledged Shiyu's ability. Especially watching her treat little E these past few days, she could clearly predict the symptoms of little E before and after. In the past, when little E was sick, those doctors would always be horrified. Then they were full of disgust. Only Shiyu, who seemed to have expected it, even came up with a way to relieve the pain. Little Yi's reliance on Shiyu had reached the point of trusting her wholeheartedly because Shiyu really kept her promise and treated him step by step. She didn't make him take those medicines that could make them suffer. A disease that even a rank 9 doctor couldn't do anything about became as simple as chopping vegetables in the hands of Shiyu. How could such a doctor be judged with common sense? These people would one day regret their doubts. Wei Qingyuan looked at He Jiang and He Jian coldly. Don't forget, if it wasn't for Shiyu, we would all die in the elusive forest, but now you're slandering her like this. Aren't you guys ungrateful? Shiyu's strength, you have also seen it with your own eyes. With the strength of the Foundation Establishment stage, he can resist rank 7 Black Bear alone. Why can't he refine the grade 4 medicinal pills? Apart from these, do you have other evidence? Wei Qingyuan, don't simply slander us. He Jiang and He Jian were furious when Wei Qingyuan said them ungrateful. So they said angrily, the facts are right before you. You still can't judge right from wrong. Why are you defending Shiyu like this? Are you attracted by his good look? He Jian also glanced at Hashi contemptuously. Then he looked at everyone in the Heaven Medical Branch and said loudly, all the fellows of the Heaven Medical Branch, you must give us a testimony. Although we were admitted together with Shiyu, we never cheat shamelessly. Although Shiyu did save our lives, it did not offset the fact that Shiyu cheated. Chapter 1152. Illusion. Wei Qingyuan clenched his fists angrily. When he was about to make a move, he was pulled by Hashi. Hashi looked at them with a half-smile. Then she said slowly, are you done talking nonsense? Please get lost if you are done. The class will start soon. Please don't get in my way. At the same time she said these words, a powerful coercion was unleashed from her. Everyone present was in a state of daze, but they suddenly trembled all over. The questions and insults that were about to blurt out suddenly got stuck in the throat because of fear. They froze on the spot, not being able to move. Almost everyone in Heaven Medical Branch was at the Gold Core stage, and the worst was at the Peak of Meridian stage. But at this moment, they could only watch a Foundation establishment young man walking past them and sat in the front row leisurely. It was not until Hushi took her seat that everyone who had been shrouded in coercion came back to their senses. He Jiang and He Jieyun, who had the lowest cultivation base, stumbled and sweated profusely because of fear as if they were just out of the water. He Jiang murmured, What happened just now? He Jieyun and him looked at each other. Everyone in the Heaven Medical Branch was also full of confusion. No one could react to what happened. Just at this moment, the elder who taught the lesson appeared at the corner. Everyone's expressions changed slightly, and they dispersed and returned to their positions. He Jiang and He Jieyun also quickly left the Heaven Medical Branch. Just after returning to the position, everyone's eyes couldn't help but look at Hushi. Some were contemptuous, some were disgusted, and some were suspicious, wondering if the terrifying coercion just now was emanating from Shiyu. However, as soon as the idea came up, they immediately denied it. What a joke. Shiyu is only at the Foundation establishment. How can he exude such a powerful coercion? It must be an illusion. Since that day, Hushi had been excluded by Heaven Medical Branch, even the entire Miracle Healer Academy. However, this had no effect on Hushi at all. She was not good at communicating with others. Firstly, she entered the Miracle Healer Academy to find Wu Qi. Secondly, she wanted to systematically learn the technique of pill refining in this world. Although she had studied the overflowing cauldron pill scripture herself, in fact, there were still many mysteries that couldn't be solved in pill refining. There were also many bottlenecks in cultivation, such as the use of the basic 5 elements spiritual power. Miracle Healer Academy was obviously the best place for her to gain knowledge. As for the gossip in the academy and the exclusion from others, she wouldn't be bothered by them. Those who had the guts to provoke her were beaten up by her. Because they lost to a Foundation establishment stage, they were embarrassed to tell the others. So, they could only ruin her reputation in other ways. In addition to classes and cultivation, Hushi spent the rest of the time treating the young man named Little E in the remote courtyard. Hushi still didn't know the true identity of the young man, but she could feel that as Little E's condition got better and better under her treatment, the expert guards in the courtyard looked at her with flames in their eyes. Chapter 1153. Seduce. The woman on the left had a beautiful face with a reserved and elegant smile. The woman on the right was also considered a beauty, but her skin was too dark. She looked unremarkable when she stood beside her. They were Lu Jishi and Ren Shuling. Ren Shuling smirked and said, "Senior sister, Shiyu is definitely finished this time. Now the academy is filled with rumors that he cheated his way in. I heard that the Heaven Medical Branch's people have prepared to jointly sign a book and let Miracle Healer Academy kick Shiyu out." Lu Jishi smiled softly. She said with a calm and elegant voice, "Shueling, have you forgotten how Shiyu seized every opportunity to turn things around when he was in Yangon City? Let's not jump to conclusions before things are settled. That was because he was lucky. But I don't believe that he can still be so lucky every time." Ren Shuling snorted coldly. Miracle Healer Academy has always been fairness and justice. It can't tolerate students cheating and deception the most. Besides, it's not just the students who know about it now. Even the whole Miracle Healer City knows this rumor. If Shiyu can still escape from this, it will be too unfair. Lu Jishi smiled slightly, and a dim light flashed in her eyes. At this moment, a group of students gathered to discuss not far ahead, and the discussion happened to be about Shiyu's cheating. I didn't believe that someone dared to cheat. After all, the inspection of Miracle Healer Academy is so strict, and the punishment for cheating is so severe. But now it seems that this is a fact. If Shiyu was wronged, how could he not explain it? It's clear that he is guilty of being a thief, so he didn't dare to talk more. How did he bring the 5 spiritual pill into the elusive forest, though? I heard that he was obviously at the Foundation establishment stage, but he was able to compete with rank 7 magical beast. Did he also use some shady means? Hee hee, you don't know yet, right? I've heard that Shiyu used his beauty to seduce someone big, then he found a way to cheat. No way. Someone exclaimed in disbelief. Although Shiyu is beautiful, he is a man after all. How could he do such a thing? Why is it impossible? The person who broke the news earlier had a wretched and contemptuous expression on his face. With Shiyu's face, you dare to say that if he seduces people, others will not be tempted, let alone an ordinary woman. Even the first beauty of the academy, Fairy Jishi, isn't as pretty as him. If he really seduces someone big in the academy, he will definitely succeed. What's more, there is still something you don't know. She was a lowly person who seduced others. The fearsome king of hell in the Jinling kingdom is fascinated by him. I heard that he didn't hesitate to offend the Feng family for him. Huh. No way, right? I didn't expect this handsome Shiyu is actually so rotten inside. Don't he feel embarrassed for having a man-man relationship? He actually dares to embarrass himself in the Miracle Healer Academy. So we must not let this kind of person stay in Miracle Healer Academy. Otherwise, the reputation of our Miracle Healer Academy for thousands of years will be destroyed in the hands of Shiyu. That's right. We're going to unite the upper 4 branches and lower 4 branches to expel Shiyu out of the academy. Chapter 1154. Not as beautiful as him, Ren Shuling was very excited. She grabbed Lu Jishi's hand and said excitedly, "Senior sister, did you see this? Shiyu is doomed this time. He will be expelled from Miracle Healer Academy with the reputation of cheating and seducing men. Even if he is still alive, his life will be ruined." Ren Shuling talked for a long time, but she found that Lu Jishi had a gloomy expression and didn't speak for a long time. Ren Shuling couldn't help but whispered twice, "Senior sister, senior sister?" Lu Jishi let out a breath slowly, then she said lightly after a long while, "You should tell Elder Qin and Chan Jinqing about the petition, then call Caillou to the office of the Academy Student Council. Tell him that I have something to discuss with him." Ren Shuling immediately smiled and said, "Okay, senior sister, I'll do it now. Elder Qin can't wait to sweep Shiyu out of the academy. Haha, there will be a good show this time." Ren Shuling said and left in a hurry, leaving Lu Jishi standing alone. She squinted sinisterly and unwillingly. The words that the students just said were still echoing in her mind. Let alone an ordinary woman, even the first beauty of the academy, Fairy Jishi, isn't as pretty as him. The fearsome king of hell in the Jinling kingdom is fascinated by him. I heard that he didn't hesitate to offend the Feng family for him. Shiyu. How can he compare with me? Which part of him is better than me? Isn't it just that face? Isn't it because of the face that makes that person remember him? However, soon, neither this person nor this face will exist. Lu Jishi took a deep breath and quickly adjusted the twisted expression on her face into a pure and elegant smile before slowly walking toward the building of the Academy Student Council. A huge storm was about to set off in Miracle Healer Academy. At this time, in the remote and uninhabited courtyard of the academy, there was also a huge commotion. Wei Qingyuan excitedly pulled the young man and checked him up and down, and his voice trembled slightly. "Little E, are you sure you are really cured? It didn't relapse again?" Zhang Yi's eyes shone brightly. If looking closely, one could see that his eyes were flushed, and his whole body trembled slightly because of excitement. He choked and said, "Yes, Brother Wei. My disease used to trigger every few hours, but ever since Brother Shiyu treated me, I have not been sick for 2 days. I didn't turn into the disgusting and ugly look for 2 days." Wei Qingyuan took a deep breath and calmed down his inner excitement. Originally, he never held any hope. He just heard that Shiyu's medical skills were very good, and he was good at treating intractable diseases, so he wanted to try it out. Unexpectedly, Zhang Yi was really cured. Wei Qingyuan was about to speak when a figure suddenly flashed in front of him, and the expert guard from the side courtyard appeared in front of them. Beside this guard, there was also an old man with white hair and beard. The guard pointed at Zhang Yi and said, "Look carefully to see if his illness is really cured." When the white-haired old man heard this, he did not dare to neglect at all. He quickly released pure water spiritual power into Zhang Yi's body. Wei Qingyuan was shocked to find that the water spiritual power cast by the white-haired old man was very thick and pure. He was at least a rank 9 doctor. Chapter 1155. He can't go. The white-haired old man checked for a while with a frown. Then his eyes widened gradually in disbelief. How is it possible? How is it possible? It is really cured. The old man murmured, getting more and more excited and louder. How is it cured? Tell me how it was cured. Where is the one who cured him? Is that you? The old man looked at Wei Qingyuan with gleaming eyes. Wei Qingyuan shook his head quickly. Someone else cured little E? The expert guard was equally excited, but he did not show it. He said solemnly to the white-haired old man, Dr. Min, I want to take this person to see Master immediately. Please come with us. Of course. Of course. Hearing the expert guard mentioning his master, the white-haired old man immediately showed a respectful look and hurriedly bowed. His honor must be in a hurry. Let's go over immediately. But the doctor who cured the disease, the expert guard looked at Wei Qingyuan, and he hurriedly said, as long as it is confirmed that Shiyu's treatment plan is correct, I will immediately take him to see his honor. The expert guard nodded with satisfaction and smiled slowly. If he is really cured, we will never forget the credit of your Wei family and Miracle Healer Academy. Wei Qingyuan suddenly whispered, there is just something to tell Guard Lin. Shiyu, he is being challenged and questioned by other students for some reasons, and he will probably be expelled from the academy. Expelled from the academy? The expert guard narrowed his eyes slightly and snorted coldly. No one has ever been able to send away the person we want. Don't worry, he can't leave. The meaning of this sentence was that they would let Shiyu stay at Miracle Healer Academy, but it did not mean that they would help her more. After all, the real test of his honor for Shiyu had not yet officially started. Wei Qingyuan didn't dare to say more and just bowed his head respectfully. The expert guard didn't say much. He grabbed the white-haired old man and Zhang Yi, and they disappeared in the side courtyard in an instant. The whole academy was boycotting Hushi, but Hushi felt that the day was enjoyable and undisturbed. She was even able to learn new knowledge, which made her feel comfortable and fulfilled. The course today happened to explain the Earth's spiritual power. Hushi had always been more proficient in using fire spiritual power and water spiritual power, but she had little understanding of gold spiritual power and earth spiritual power. As for wood spiritual power, she knew that it was a taboo in the Miluo continent, so she didn't expect it to have progression in a short time. So the class about the earth spiritual power was exactly what she is most interested in. But today, as soon as Hushi entered the classroom, she heard a burst of laughter from the students inside. The usual whispers had turned into unbridled ridicule today. Look, the shameless man is here again. The man spoke in a very loud voice as if he was talking to Shiyu on purpose. This person is really annoying. He even has the face to stay after his true identity was exposed. If it were me, I would have left. Hee. If you have the face to do those things, you might become a genius that everyone praises. Someone is just different from those of us who have been admitted to Heaven Medical Branch by our own strength. But we shall see. Someone won't be here for a long time. Hushi walked through the crowd with a blank face, ignoring them. Chapter 1156. Get Lost. However, when she wanted to find an empty seat to sit down, she was immediately stopped by someone with a sneer. Sorry, there is someone here. She changed 2 places in a row, but there were people stopping her too. When she got to the 3rd place, it was still the same. A student from the gold core stage raised his foot and crossed the position where Hushi was going to sit, and he said coldly, Sorry, there is already someone here. I don't want to sit with such a shameless and despicable person like you. I'm afraid my level will be dragged down by you. Very good. It seems that they are indeed targeting me. Hushi raised her slender eyebrows and looked at the gold core stage student coldly. Go away. In an instant, a pressing aura emanated from Hushi's body. The student couldn't help but shudder. Even the foot that was originally resting on the position shook. But soon after, He became more infuriated for being reprimanded by a kid from the foundation establishment stage. Who are you to command me? Hushi looked at him with icy and cold eyes as if looking at a dead object. I'll say it again. Get lost. Don't make me say it a third time. The student of Gold Core stage burst out laughing. What are you? You dare to tell me to get lost? Don't think that you can show off your power in front of me with a pretty face. If you are still arrogant, don't blame me, however. Before he finished speaking, he was suddenly grabbed by the collar and got thrown out. Bang! The student fell to the ground, knocking over many tables and chairs. Fortunately, the tables and chairs in this Miracle Healer Academy were specially made, so even if they were chopped with a flying sword, they would not be broken. But also because of this Gold Core stage student was knocked into a daze without any precautions. He almost vomited blood. For a while, the entire classroom was silent, until the Gold Core stage student let out a painful groan and said, Shiyu, you dare to hurt me. Everyone reacted and glared at Shiyu. Shiyu, you are really out of control. How dare you attack the senior of the same branch? That's right. Don't think that you can show off your power if you have a backer. If I don't show you some dominance today, you really think we are easy to bully? Let's go together and let this bitch taste some punches. Let him know that our Heaven Medical Branch can't get in by cheating. Every student in the Heaven Medical Branch was outraged and glared at Hushi. Hushi sneered without the slightest fear on her face. The purple whip loomed in her hand. In this tense atmosphere, a stern shout came from outside the door. What are you all doing? This stern shout carried a powerful spiritual power pressure. It was the pressure of the nascent soul stage. All the students were shocked, and they quickly stopped. The whole class was quiet again for a while. The Gold Core stage student who was thrown out by Shiyu stood up limping, walked up to the teacher and said angrily, Elder Fu, please don't blame everyone. It's Shiyu's fault. He just attacked me in a despicable sneak attack, and he was disrespectful to everyone in the Heaven Medical Branch, so everyone wanted to teach him a lesson. Yes, Elder Fu, I don't know if you have heard the rumors in the academy. Shiyu got into the Miracle Healer Academy by cheating. We are ashamed to be in the company of such people. Chapter 1157. Arrogant, yeah. If shameless people like Shiyu can get into Heaven Medical Branch, then what are those of us who worked hard to get in? Everyone started crusade against Hushi. They unanimously expressed their unwillingness to be in the same class with Shiyu. Someone glared at Shiyu and suddenly shouted, Cheater, get out. We Heaven Medical Branch don't welcome you. Yes, get out. Get out. Get out. Elder Fu looked at Hushi with icy eyes. He had also participated in this entrance examination, and he had also heard the rumors circulating in the academy. In fact, he felt that those rumors were not groundless. He supported Elder Qin's point of view at the time, believing that this person must have used some improper means to have such performance. Otherwise, if a martial artist of the Foundation establishment stage could have such a strong strength, wouldn't it defy the natural law? So, he said solemnly, Shiyu, you go out first. You don't have to attend this class. Hushi also stood up at this time. Although she was usually cold and arrogant, she still respected the teacher. However, Elder Fu's words turned her respect into a sneer. Why? Just because you cheated in here. Elder Fu said gloomily, Our Miracle Healer Academy has always been fair and valued the talents. We hated the people who outsmart themselves and are stubborn. My class doesn't welcome people like you. Hushi was not angry at this time, but she sat down again with a half-smile. Oh, why don't I remember that there is a rule in Miracle Healer Academy that the tutor can drive out the students who did not make mistakes? You said that I cheated, so what is the evidence? I haven't even complained you for slandering me. Elder Fu was speechless for a while. Yes, just based on rumors, Hushi couldn't be convicted. If she was not guilty, he couldn't stop her from attending the class. The Gold Core stage student who was injured by Hushi immediately said angrily, You just injured me? Isn't it a mistake? Get out of here immediately? Are you sure you want to convict me of this kind of crime? Hushi smiled and appeared in front of the Gold Core stage student in a flash. Aren't you Gold Core stage? Because you lose to a Foundation establishment stage, You want to kick me out of the class? Don't you feel shame for it? The gold course stage student stared stiffly at the dagger in Hushy's slender fingers. The sharp edge of the dagger was sticking to his neck at this moment, as if it would cut his throat with a slight force. Seeing that the student was so frightened that his whole body was trembling, Hushy smiled and returned to her seat. She glanced at Elder Fu and everyone. Now, can we start the class? Elder Fu's face was ashen. I have always been respected in the academy, and no one has ever dared to speak to me so arrogantly as Shiyu. Chapter 1158. Evidence. Once the Elder Council accepts our proposal, you will be expelled from Miracle Healer Academy immediately. I'll see how arrogant you are then. As soon as this person's words came out, a cheerful smile appeared on everyone's face. Even the gold core stage student who had been ridiculed by Hushy looked at Hushy with a gloat. In the Academy Student Council, someone already has conclusive evidence to prove that you passed the second assessment by cheating, plus the testimony of your inspector, Deputy President Caillou. Your expulsion is a definite fact. Hee, Elder Fu, take pity on him and let him listen to the last class. Maybe Shiyu will soon leave Miracle Healer Academy dejectedly. Ha! Everyone burst into laughter and said words of pity, but their smiles and words at Hushy were full of malice. Elder Fu also felt delighted after venting his anger. Then he started the class. Hushy squinted slightly. They have evidence to kick me out of the Miracle Healer Academy? I really want to see what evidence do they have. Miracle Healer Academy, the Elder Council. Lu Jishi, Caillou, and Ren Shuling were all sitting in the outer hall, looking at the scene inside from time to time. Ren Shuling couldn't help standing up and said anxiously, Elder Qin has been in for a while. Is there a conclusion yet? Shiyu, that bitch cheating is an obvious thing. Is there a need to discuss? Shouldn't he be expelled immediately? Lu Jishi glanced at Caillou, who had a pale face, and she said softly, Schwelling, whether Shiyu is guilty or not, the elders will naturally have a fair and just conclusion, so don't worry about it. As she said that, she smiled at Caillou intentionally. This time, thanks to your testimony, Caillou. Otherwise, no matter how powerful the rumors are, the Academy can't deal with Shiyu without any solid evidence. Ren Shuling said with a smile, yeah? Brother Caillou, fortunately you are Shiyu's invigilator, otherwise we will be fooled by this bitch. Caillou's face was pale and haggard, and he didn't show any joy after listening to Lu Jishi and Ren Shuling's words. His eyelashes drooped down, concealing the guilty conscience in it. This was the first time he had done something against his conscience and told lies that hurt others. The suffering in his heart almost drove him crazy. But Caillou raised his head and glanced at Lu Jishi. For Jishi, for my goddess, I have to do this. I must not let Shiyu hurt Lu Jishi. When Ren Shuling was about to say more, the door was suddenly pushed open. Elder Qin and another middle-aged man with bright eyes walked out slowly. Lu Jishi's eyes swept away, seeing the joy that could not be hidden in Elder Qin's eyes, and she immediately knew the results. They bowed to Elder Qin and the middle-aged man. Deputy Dean Jiang, Elder Qin, is there a conclusion on Shiyu's expulsion? The middle-aged man handed back the sign book in his hand to Lu Jishi, then he smiled lightly. Although the fact that Shiyu cheated has not been fully concluded, since other students in the academy reject him so much, the existence of Shiyu also affects the normal teaching and training. Therefore, after consultation with other members of the Elder Council, it is decided. Before the middle-aged man could finish his words, a figure hurried in. Chapter 1159. Fail in the end. This person was the middle-aged man's confidant. After he came in, he didn't even look at Lu Jishi and the other two, and he went straight to the middle-aged man and whispered a few words in his ear. The middle-aged man's face changed greatly, and he said in disbelief, Is that true? It's absolutely true. The man said intently, Now the order from above will be delivered soon. The middle-aged man showed a look of fear for a while, then nodded toward his subordinate and said, Okay, good. Your news is too timely. The subordinate quickly retreated, and Lu Jishi had a bad premonition after looking at the middle-aged man's expression. The middle-aged man let out a low cough and continued the topic with his expression unchanged. Although there is something wrong with Shiyu, since he has entered my Miracle Healer Academy, it means that he is a member of our Miracle Healer Academy. Shiyu is still young. If he did something wrong, you seniors should be more tolerant. Ren Shuoling's eyes widened as she said in disbelief, What does this mean? Elder Qin was also shocked. Deputy Dean Jiang, did we just agree? Agree on what? The middle-aged man said lightly without the slightest guilt on his face. Okay, there is no need to talk about this matter anymore. Since Shiyu has entered the Miracle Healer Academy, it is absolutely impossible to drive her out. But he was clearly cheating to get in. The middle-aged man's face turned gloomy. There was already impatience in his eyes. Since he cheated, why didn't Elder Qin see through it during the assessment? Caillou didn't see through it? Why are you bringing it up now? You want me to investigate your negligence in the assessment? The words of the middle-aged man suddenly changed the expressions of the four. Lu Jishi pursed her lips tightly and clenched her hands. The middle-aged man waved his hand and said, Okay, this matter is settled. Take this book back and destroy it. I don't want to see this kind of thing appearing in the academy again. Seeing the middle-aged man disappear behind the door, Lu Jishi only felt a pain in her palm. She actually wounded her palm with her nails. Just a little bit, just a little that I can completely ruin Shiyu's reputation and chase him out of Miracle Healer Academy. Why did it fail in the end? Soon, the news that Shiyu received support from the superior had spread throughout the academy. The entire Miracle Healer Academy was in a huge commotion. Why Miracle Healer Academy made everyone yearn, not only because of its strength and resources but also because of its fairness and justice. No matter how strong the students' backgrounds and families were, if they wanted to enter the academy, they had to rely on their own strength to be admitted. Therefore, everyone who entered Miracle Healer Academy had their own pride and self-confidence. But now, there was a scum in Miracle Healer Academy who could run amok in Miracle Healer Academy just because he had the protection from the superior. How could they tolerate this kind of thing? For the next day, all the students at Heaven Medical Branch refused to attend classes and went to the branch's office to protest. They would never accept being classmates with a cheater like Shiyu. Deanly of Heaven Medical Branch had always been upright and had a personality that couldn't tolerate injustice. After listening to the student's words, his disgust for Shiyu also reached its peak. Chapter 1160. Expelled from Heaven Medical Branch. Therefore, even if the attitude above was ambiguous, even if they tried to keep Shiyu in the academy, he still declared in the square of Miracle Healer Academy in front of the protesters, I, Li Chengchuan, announce in the name of Heaven Medical Branch Dean that Shiyu will be expelled from Heaven Medical Branch. There was an uproar among the students in the Heaven Medical Branch below, and cheers erupted one after another in the square. Someone shouted, Shiyu, get out. Someone shouted, Long live Deanly. Not far from the square, Hushi watched this scene with a squint. Suddenly, a woman's arrogant laughter came from her ear. Ha ha ha, Shiyu, even if you seduce a big shot with your looks to let you stay in the Miracle Healer Academy, is that worth? Now you have been expelled by Heaven Medical Branch. In Miracle Healer Academy, you're all alone. Without a place to attend classes, and not even a place to live, I want to see how many days you can stay in the academy. Hushi turned around and quickly met Ren Shuoling's mocking face and Lu Jishi's deep eyes. She sneered with a bright and gentle smile. Ren Shuoling, you really forgot your own painful lesson. As soon as she finished speaking, she disappeared with a flicker. Ren Shuoling only felt a sharp pain in her left cheek. Then she spat a mouthful of blood that mixed with a tooth. Lu Jishi, who was beside Ren Shuoling, was stretching out her hand in a funny way as if she wanted to stop something. But because there was only air in front of her, her movements looked very strange. Lu Jishi's beautiful eyes stared at Hushi like she was looking at some kind of monster. Just as she realized that Shiyu would attack Ren Shuoling, and she had prepared to defend in advance, but her gold core stage cultivation actually couldn't see Shiyu's movement clearly. Ren Shuoling's painful face distorted. As she wanted to scream, Hushi said coldly, "If you say one more word, I will knock out one more tooth from you. If you finish one sentence, I will guarantee that your teeth will all be gone in the next moment." Renshualing shuddered, being glared at by her cold gaze. She couldn't a single word for a while. Lu Zhishi's face was also ashen. The jealousy and unwillingness in her heart were slowly replaced by killing intent. Li Chengchuan, who had just announced the expulsion order, also walked toward Hushi. He looked at Hushi with contempt and disgust in his eyes, and he said coldly, "Shiyu, did you hear what I just said? I'll give you 1 day to move out from the #1 dormitory, and don't let me see you again in the Heaven Medical Branch. We Heaven Medical Branch don't welcome you." Hushi sneered, but before she could speak, Lu Zhishi took a step forward, looking worried. "Deanly, you expelled Shiyu from Heaven Medical Branch. Where should he go next?" Saying that, the pair of beautiful eyes swept over the elders of other branches who were watching the excitement. Shiyu is also a student of Miracle Healer Academy after all, so he has to attend class and has a place to live, right? Which branch would like to accept Shiyu? As soon as Lu Zhishi said this, the elders or deans of the other branches who were present immediately stepped back, looking as if they were terrified to accept her. Dean Li sneered, "Such shameless and incompetent student who cheated his way in. Which branch would want him? Wouldn't it be embarrassing for the branch? Zhishi, only you will speak up for this kind of person." Chapter 1161. "I want you." Lu Zhishi frowned, looked at Hushi pitifully and worriedly, and said in a low voice, "But if this is the case, wouldn't it be harder for Shiyu to stay in this academy than to be expelled from the academy? Ha ha ha. Isn't this just right? Anyway, what he is good at is not cultivation and studying medicine, but selling his looks and bootlicking the big shot. Now that he has been expelled from the branch, isn't it a good chance for him to fortify his pamper? Anyway, don't come to our branch. I don't want to be in the company of such a person. See, he still has the face to stand here. If it is me, I would have begged the academy to expel me. Shiyu, just give up. No branch will want you at all. Ha ha ha." Everyone was laughing at Shiyu, who was on the side, but suddenly a deep voice came from not far away. "TSK, TSK, such a good seedling, such a potential young man. You all actually don't want him? That's great. I didn't expect such a good seedling to come to our branch. This is really a huge bargain for me." Ha ha ha. Everyone looked in the direction of the voice, and they saw a messy-looking old man staring at Shiyu with scorching eyes. He walked toward her quickly. His face was filled with joy. Without waiting for Hushi to respond, he grabbed her wrist. "Little young man, they don't want you. I want you. Why don't you come to our branch?" There was silence in the square, and Lu Zhishi's face distorted. At this time, someone in the crowd shouted in a low voice, "It's Dean Zeng from the Huang Medical Branch." The Huang Medical Branch was the lowest level branch of the entire Miracle Healer Academy. It could also be said to be a concentration camp for the poor students and garbage of the entire academy. However, no matter how bad the Huang Medical Branch was, they would not want Shiyu to go in. Dean Zeng even said that Shiyu was a good seedling. This was simply absurd. Hushi looked at Zeng Shoyue up and down. This man had the cultivation of nascent soul later stage, and his aura was pure and gentle. It seemed that he was the most suitable to be a doctor. She glanced at Zeng Shoyue's hands, which were stained with the smell of herbs. The smell was very thick. It seemed that he invested many times in refining pill. It was just strange that there was a looming black air on Zeng Shoyue's body, which seemed to be devouring his pure aura. However, these had nothing to do with Hushi. She had only two purposes in Miracle Healer Academy, which were to find Wu Qi and to learn pill refining. She smiled slightly and said without hesitation, "Okay." Zeng Shoyue was overjoyed immediately as he held Hushi's hand. However, Lu Zhishi suddenly stepped forward and said worriedly, "Dean Zeng, you are willing to take in Shiyu. Is it because some big shop protects him, so you want to keep him in the Huang Medical Branch, so as to increase the bargaining power of the Huang Medical Branch?" There is nothing wrong with your behavior, but if Shiyu finds out in the future, I'm afraid it will break his heart. As soon as Lu Jishi said these words, everyone's eyes on Zhang Din suddenly became a little subtle. Everyone knew that the Huang Medical Branch was the worst branch of the Miracle Healer Academy. Whether it was the pill cauldron, the array, the medicinal pills, or crystal stones provided to students every year, they were all the lowest. It turns out that Dinzeng takes in Shiyu because he knew that there is someone behind him, so he wants to gain power for Huang Medical Branch. Zhang Shouyue heard what Lu Jishi meant, but he was not angry. He said with a cold smile instead, "Student Lu doesn't have to worry about the reason I recruit Shiyu. As for whether Shiyu has the strength or not, I believe Caillou, beside you, knows better than everyone else. Or I can suspect that Lu Jishi said those words because you are afraid that Shiyu's talent and strength will surpass you one day." You? Lu Jishi's face suddenly turned gloomy and livid. She never thought that Zheng Shouyue would not give her face and humiliated her like this in public. After Zheng Shouyue said these words, he didn't even look at her, and he was about to leave with Hushi. Hushi stopped and smiled coldly. "Wait a minute. Although I'm not going to stay at Heaven Medical Branch, I need to make myself clear with something." As she said that, she turned to look at Li Chengchuan and said slowly, "Dean Li, you just said you wanted to expel me from Heaven Medical Branch. What is the reason? I don't remember that students who didn't make mistakes can be arbitrarily expelled from the branch." Li Chengchuan's face turned gloomy. He said angrily, "Didn't make a mistake? You have the face to say such a thing? It is obvious that you cheated your way into the Miracle Healer Academy. Our Heaven Medical Branch people despised you and expelled you from the branch. What's wrong with that?" Hushi's smile suddenly turned cold, and her eyes were like sharp knives. "Dean Li, you can't slander indiscriminately. You said that I cheated my way into Miracle Healer Academy. Do you have any evidence?" "Evidence? Evidence? What other evidence is needed? Who in the entire Miracle Healer Academy doesn't know? That means Deanly has no evidence." Hushi squinted and said slowly, "I remember that Miracle Healer Academy has regulations to protect the students. If you slander a promising student for no reason, your punishment will not be light. Deanly, let me ask again. Do you have evidence in your hands to prove that I cheated? If not, I will have to submit this matter to the Elder Council for arbitration." Li Chengchuan was a little stunned all of a sudden, and the anger on his face turned into astonishment. He thought that since Shiyu came in by cheating, he would definitely feel guilty. Who knew that Shiyu was still so confident? Is it because he knows that his cheating will not be discovered? Thinking of this, Li Chengchuan's face flashed with anger. He said coldly, "Elder Qin of this year's entrance examination can testify this." He is your chief invigilator. Could it be that what he said could be wrong? Oh, since it was said by Elder Qin, let him show me the evidence. Hushi turned her gaze at Elder Qin, who was not far away. As expected, Elder Qin was watching the excitement along with Chan Jianqing and all the candidates who participated in the same assessment as Hushi. Hushi smirked and grinned. "It seems that there is no need for Deanly to invite Elder Qin. I heard that you are the one who proved that I cheated in the second assessment?" Elder Qin was questioned by Hushi, but he didn't appear guilty and flustered at all. Instead, he walked forward slowly. While walking, the pair of falcon-like eyes stared at Hushi coldly. "If you don't want people to know, you shouldn't do it. Shiyu, since you did it, don't be afraid of letting people know." Chapter 1163. Image. With that said, he looked around and said slowly, "I didn't want to be so ruthless. I hope that you can make a change and reform. However, Shiyu didn't seem to repent, but you have become even worse. Don't blame me for revealing your true face in front of everyone. Hushy's eyes squinted slightly, and she had already guessed what Elder Qin was going to do. Sure enough, Elder Qin quickly took out the recording stone and activated it. The video soon started playing. When it was all over, the audience was in an uproar. Their eyes looking at Hushy were filled with anger. The image that Elder Qin showed was very short. The first segment was that Shiyu was separating from the team. The second segment was that when Wang Hai was being chased by Poison Spiritual Bee, Shiyu stood by and watched. The third segment was that before fighting the black bear, Shiyu took out a bunch of medicinal pills and distributed them to everyone. The fourth segment was the battle between Shiyu and Black Bear. Her strength was astounding. Elder Qin took back the recording stone and sneered. Shiyu, you are just at the foundation establishment stage. You couldn't even survive in the elusive forest at all. So why did you want to separate from everyone? Haha, because you had hidden medicinal pills on you, and you don't want other teammates to know, right? That's the first doubt. When Wang Hai was chased by Poison Spiritual Bee, you stood by because you had no ability to deal with the poisonous spiritual bee. However, when you faced the black bear, you suddenly had the strength to fight against rank 7 magical beast. This proves that you are either insidious or you are not competent enough. This is the second doubt. Before the battle with Black Bear, you suddenly gave everyone medicinal pills, and they were even the best quality spiritual pill, which is not something you can make with your current strength. Your invigilator Caillou said that he watched you all the way, but he didn't see you refine the pills. So where did you get these medicinal pills? This is the third doubt. The last point, and the most incredible thing to me, is that you are only at the foundation establishment stage, but you could actually fight against the black bear. Some people even say that you were swallowed by the black bear, but you could still escape. This was hard to understand for us, but now that all the doubts are compared, it becomes clear. You took medicinal pills that improved your cultivation for a short period of time, so your strength skyrocketed. You clearly brought these medicinal pills into the secret realm. After Elder Qin said this, a smug smile appeared on his face. Shiyu, you think that because of the rank 7 magical beast, many recording stones have been destroyed, so we have no evidence to prove that you cheated. You didn't expect that we could recover these few images, right? How do you explain this now? In the crowd, Chen Jianqing also stood up and said, among all the people present, only I and Shiyu were on the same team. I saw Wang Hai's death with my own eyes, so I can swear that the image is true. Shiyu has no real talent at all. He passed the second assessment entirely by cheating. The words of Elder Qin and Chen Jianqing were well-founded, so everyone was more certain that Shiyu must have cheated in the assessment. He obviously cheated his way in, but he didn't feel guilty at all. He is even arrogant. Moreover, in the second image, Shiyu even let his teammate die. Such a sinister person dares to stay in Miracle Healer Academy so arrogantly. This is so unbearable. Chapter 1164. Fight me if you aren't convinced, however. Hushy laughed slowly as if the images she saw was just a joke. Oh, it turns out that Elder Qin, you suspect me of cheating because I'm at the foundation establishment stage, so I'm not capable of doing these? Am I right? Elder Qin said coldly. Is it not? You can compete with rank 7 magical beast with just the strength of the foundation establishment stage. If you didn't take any secret medicine, who would believe it? You are only at the foundation establishment stage. Can you refine the medicinal pills yourself? They were even the grade 4-5 spiritual pill. Hee, you dare to say that you are not cheating? Hushy brushed the hair on her temples and said leisurely, in this way, the matter is very simple. It just happened that all the people who participated in the assessment that day, except Wei Qingyuan, were present. Didn't you all say that my strength is buffed by secret medicine? If who isn't convinced, come and fight me. Or, you can all fight me together. Because of Hushy's words, Everyone's eyes turned to the people who took the same assessment with Hushi. Among these 9 people, 5 were Gold Core Stage, 4 were Meridian Stage. All of them were Meridian Stage Peak Stage. Dealing with a Foundation Establishment Stage, Shiyu was an easy task. However, the 9 people, who had competed with Hushi, were timid inexplicably seeing the young man in front of them. Among them, Han Xiner, who had the most beautiful appearance and the most profound cultivation, frowned and took a step back without a trace. Hushi turned her eyes to Qin Jianqing. Didn't you say that my strength isn't real? Since that's the case, you can go first. There was a hint of fear in his eyes. However, when his eyes met Feng Yunqing's obscure gaze, he was certain. He swallowed a medicinal pill without being noticed, then he took a deep breath and walked to Hushi in a few steps. Okay, Shiyu. If you hadn't provoked the poisonous spiritual bee and turned them against us, Wang Hai wouldn't die. I will teach you a lesson for Wang Hai in heaven. As he said that, he sneered. Looking at Shiyu's weak body, his confidence grew stronger and stronger. But let's make it clear first, the power is uncontrollable. If there is any damage during the fight, don't blame me. Hushi smiled and said, Same here. At this time, Qin Jianqing had already felt the majestic power in his body. Feng Yunqing had told him that this kind of medicinal pill would give him great power in a short period of time, even reaching the level of pseudo-gold core stage. Even if Shiyu is really capable, can he still compete against the gold core stage? Today, I will kill him in front of everyone. Qin Jianqing's spiritual power suddenly soared, and a solid flame in his hand suddenly grew larger, turning him into a fireball as he charged toward Hushi. In the academy, it was not allowed to fight with spells, but if it was allowed by the dean and the deputy dean, it would be another matter. At this time, the powerful spiritual power that erupted from Qin Jianqing's body and the scorching power of his fireball made everyone look at him differently. Unexpectedly, this person, who was only at the Meridian stage, had such strength. Many people looked at Shiyu with pity and gloat. He can only blame himself for overestimating himself. Now that he is about to die, what's the point of staying in the academy? Chapter 1165. Regardless of life or death, Hushi felt interested in her mind when Qin Jianqing was rushing toward her. Just now, Elder Qin said that I relied on the secret medicine to improve my spiritual power in a short time. This Qin Jianqing used such a method. Qin Jianqing's identity and background are just ordinary. So how did he get this secret medicine? As she thought, her expression did not change in the slightest. Just as Qin Jianqing approached her, she rose up into the air and fell suddenly. Ah! Qin Jianqing let out a shrill cry. Then everyone heard a loud bang. These noises stunned everyone. When everyone came back to their senses, they found that Hushi had stepped on Qin Jianqing under his feet. Qin Jianqing, whose chest was sunken and several ribs were broken, was wailing like a pig. His overbearing momentum just now had all gone. The square fell into a strange silence for a while. Everyone watched this scene in disbelief. Everyone saw it when Qin Jianqing launched the fire attribute spell just now. The momentum was so shocking that many students felt that even they could only resist it with a cost. But Shiyu easily avoided such an attack. Elder Qin's face was ugly. There was a trace of panic in his eyes. He didn't expect that Shiyu actually had some skills. There were indeed cases that the Foundation Establishment Stage cultivator could beat the Meridian stage, but such cases were really rare. Shiyu, how can you be so vicious? It's just a practice match. You actually hurt Qin Jianqing to this extent? Elder Qin preemptively shouted. This time, Zheng Shouyue said with a sneer, Elder Qin, are you deaf? Who was the first to say that the power is uncontrollable? Now that this guy is injured, our Shiyu has to be blamed? Don't you feel shameful? As soon as Xing Shouyue said this, Elder Qin's face suddenly turned pale. Whether it was cultivation or status, Zhang Shouyue was higher than him. Moreover, because of the strength Shiyu just showed, the eyes of many Miracle Healer Academy students have begun to change, and Li Chengchuan frowned even more. There was a hint of regret and irritability in his eyes. A genius who can beat the peak of Meridian stage with the strength of the Foundation Establishment stage. If this is his strength, Heaven Medical Branch will regret to let this genius go. Elder Qin's eyes rolled, and he spoke to Han Qin'er solemnly. Han Qin'er, you go and fight with Shiyu. That day in Elusive Forest, even you were not the Black Bear opponent, but Shiyu could match the Black Bear. This is obviously impossible. You go and show everyone Shiyu's true face. I refuse. Han Qin'er interrupted Elder Qin without thinking. There was no hesitation in her voice. I'm not Shiyu's opponent. I don't want to humiliate myself. What? Han Qin'er of the Gold Core stage said that he is not Shiyu's opponent? How is this possible? It should be that Han Qin'er has a good relationship with Shiyu, so she is deliberately protecting him, right? I've also heard that Han Qin'er has been protecting Shiyu and refuses to exclude Shiyu with other freshmen. I think she has a crush on Shiyu, right? Yes. How can a Gold Core stage intermediate stage lose against the Foundation Establishment stage? Isn't this a joke? Chapter 1166. Feng Yunqing's turn. Elder Qin originally had a gloomy and frightening expression because of Han Qin'er's refusal, but at this time he felt a little more comfortable when he heard everyone's discussion. But Han Qin'er refused to fight, and Wei Qingyuan and Shiyu are on the same boat. Who else can win against Shiyu beautifully? At this moment, a tall and ordinary-looking woman suddenly appeared from the crowd. She said to Elder Qin, Elder Qin, let me fight with Shiyu. Who is this man? You don't know her? This person was sent by the Feng family to replace Feng Lianying. Her name is Feng Yunqing. She looks too different from Feng Lianying, just like a man. Don't look at her average appearance. Her cultivation base is also in the Gold Core stage intermediate stage. A Gold Core stage intermediate stage fight with a Foundation Establishment stage. Isn't it unfair? Zhang Shouyue said even more angrily. Elder Qin, you actually led a Gold Core stage to fight with a Foundation Establishment stage? It's even a fight that can cause death. Do you still want your face? When Elder Qin saw Feng Yunqing's cultivation, he felt certain in his heart. He stroked his beard and smiled. Dean Zhang must be joking. Today's fight is not to prove whose strength is stronger, but to prove Shiyu's innocence. If he can't win against Yunqing, it means that he is cheating. Even if he is beaten to death, no one should be blamed for it. Xing Shouyue was speechless. A flash of killing intent flashed in Feng Yunqing's eyes. She walked slowly to Shiyu and said with a cold smile, Shiyu, I'm Feng Yunqing who participated in the same assessment as you. Your matters stirred quite a huge commotion in these past few days. Even us who participated in the same assessments as you are implicated by you. I don't know whether you cheated or not, but I also hope that you were wronged. Therefore, I will never show mercy in the fight. If I overdo it, I hope you don't blame me for it. Hushi stepped back from Qian Jianqing. She saw that although his face twisted in pain, he kept looking at Feng Yunqing. In addition, Feng Yunqing suddenly jumped out at this time. This is really interesting. Even she thought so in her mind. She didn't reveal it on her face. She just said the same sentence, same here. Feng Yunqing's spiritual power was a mutated thunder attribute and a mutated fire attribute. Although she didn't have sky spiritual root, her power was very powerful. The entire square was lit up for a while. It was a thunder mixed with fire. Feng Yunqing held a dark red flying sword in his hand. The killing intent filled in her eyes. The sword light slashed at Hushi with a huge momentum. Everyone was taken aback by Feng Yunqing's strength. This woman, who looked ordinary and had ordinary spiritual power, actually used such a vicious spell. This blow was obviously trying to kill Shiyu on the spot. Everyone's mood was a little complicated at this time. On the one hand, they felt that Shiyu died, but when they thought that Feng Yunqing was at the gold core stage and Shiyu was only at the foundation establishment stage, it was too pitiful for her to die like that. But the next moment, the scene that shocked everyone happened again. Shiyu stood on the spot with a calm expression as if the incoming thunder and fire were nothing in her eyes at all. Her slender fingers made a gesture and cast a strange array. When the thunder and fire rushed in front of her, Shiyu's whole body suddenly flashed a gleaming blue light. A water curtain with rich spiritual power suddenly spread around her, wrapping her tightly. Chapter 1167. Shiyu's Strength, Water Spiritual Shield? Someone exclaimed, "Isn't this shield can only be condensed only by the meridian stage later stage?" But even the water spiritual shield can't resist Feng Yunqing's attack. However, everyone was stunned by what happened next. When the flames mixed with the blasting sound rushed into the water spiritual shield, not only did it not burn the water spiritual shield, but it was devoured completely by the shield. When the flames and the water shield were removed at the same time, there was only a young man with a half-smile standing there. She stared coldly at Feng Yunqing and Elder Chun, who had ashen faces. My God! He actually blocked Feng Yunqing's full blow. The water spiritual shield is only a low-level shield. How can it block Feng Yunqing's thunderfire attack? Is this Shiyu's strength really so powerful? Just when everyone was in shock, Hushi was already holding a long sword emitting a 5-color light. As soon as the long sword appeared, a powerful spiritual pressure enveloped the entire square, causing the Meridian stage disciples to stagger back in shock. This was the Li Shui sword that had been evolved in the battle with the Black Bear. At this time, perhaps it could no longer be called Li Shui's sword, but under the reforging, it had the function of exerting the spiritual power of the 5 elements. Hushi smiled slightly and looked at Feng Yunqing with cold eyes. Your full blow doesn't even tickle. Now, I'll let you try my attack. As soon as she finished her sentence, the colorful Li Shui sword suddenly lit up with golden and red light. Immediately afterward, a fire dragon mixed with blasting sound was launched toward Feng Yunqing. My God! Isn't this the move that Feng Yunqing just used? Shiyu can also use it? Did Shiyu learn it after watching it once? Isn't that a real genius? Isn't Shiyu's spiritual root fire and water? Why can he still cast thunder element spells? Don't you find that her sword is weird? It exudes 5 elements spiritual power. Everyone's shocking discussion could not counteract the panic in Feng Yunqing's heart. She originally wanted to defeat Shiyu in front of others and made her die a graveless death. However, now she found out that Shiyu's strength was no worse than her. How is this possible? A foundation establishment stage can actually fight with the gold core stage intermediate stage? How is this possible? Feng Yunqing's face was distorted. With a clear whistle, she moved toward the fire snake. The fire snake was smashed apart by her sword. Feng Yunqing was shocked by the spiritual power. She felt blood surging out from her throat, but she held it back. I must kill Shiyu no matter what. Hushi didn't hesitate, flew up and fought with Feng Yunqing. This time, instead of using Maha inheritance, she used solid swordsmanship and spiritual power to fight Feng Yunqing. And such a simple way of fighting also shocked the Miracle Healer Academy students who were watching. Not only spells and spiritual power, but Shiyu was also faster and more ruthless than Feng Yunqing. Is such a person really only at the foundation establishment stage? Ah! Feng Yunqing finally let out a painful howl and fell from the air. His shoulder was pierced by Hushi's Li Shui's sword. Hushi fluttered to the ground. Her clothes were not messed up, as if she was just casually strolling in the courtyard instead of being in a life and death battle. Chapter 1168. Bad eyesight. There was silence in the square. Feng Yunqing was defeated by Shi Yu of the Foundation Establishment stage. Elder Qin's face was very unsightly. Lu Zhishi also clenched his fists tightly, and the dark light in her eyes seemed to overflow. Feng Yunqing stared at Hushi, and she suddenly launched a black water arrow at Hushi. Feng Yunqing's action was quick, decisive, and secretive. Before the people in the square realized, the black water arrow was already in front of Shiyu. Ah! Someone exclaimed with a voice full of worry and nervousness. After these two battles, many people's thoughts about Shiyu had changed subtly. For Feng Yunqing's sneak attack, dissatisfaction and contempt arose in many people's minds. Feng Yunqing had a sinister smile on her face. As long as I can kill Shiyu, so what if I'm despised by others? However, the next moment, Feng Yunqing's smile froze on her face. The water arrow penetrated the position where Shiyu was, but there was no scream nor a piercing sound. Shiyu in everyone's eyes was disappeared into the air like a reflection in the water. The water arrow was still moving forward, more fiercely, toward Elder Qin, who was standing behind Shiyu. Elder Qin was frightened, but he didn't put the black water arrow in his eyes at all. He just flicked his hand gently. With his nascent soul stage strength, he wouldn't even bat an eye at the water arrow released by a mere gold core stage martial artist. It was Shiyu who made him furious. After flicking away the black water arrow, Elder Qin felt a tingling pain when he was about to speak. He couldn't help groaning and looked at his hand in shock. His right hand was already black at this time, and the edge of the palm that touched the water arrow was still swollen as if thick water was flowing inside. This is poisonous. At this moment, Hushi's figure reappeared in the same place with a half-smile. Not only sneak attack but also poison. Hee, Feng Yunqing, you are really merciless. How could Elder Qin not understand what was going on? He suddenly shouted furiously, Shiyu, Feng Yunqing, are you too tired of living? You dare to hurt the Elder in Miracle Healer Academy? I want to expel all of you from the academy. Hushi dug her ears with a mocking expression on her face. Elder Qin, are you too old that your eyesight and memory deteriorate? It is obviously Feng Yunqing who poisoned you. What does it have to do with me? Elder Qin suddenly felt a heart-piercing pain from his entire arm when he wanted to speak. A hint of panic flashed on his face. This poison is so powerful. Elder Qin, can you let Jishi heal you first? Then we will discuss the disposal of Shiyu and Feng Yunqing. Saying that, she released light blue water spiritual power into Elder Qin's body. Soon, the originally piercing pain was slowly healed by the powerful spiritual power, and the original swollen hand gradually returned to its original state. Lu Zhishi breathed a sigh of relief, then withdrew his spiritual power and gave Elder Qin a bottle of medicinal pills, his face slightly pale, and said, Elder Qin, it's fine now. Just take this bottle of detoxifying medicinal pill, and you will be fully recovered in a few days. Elder Qin said gratefully, Zhishi, your medical skills are really outstanding. You are almost catching up with your father. Fortunately, you are here today. Chapter 1169. Qing Luan was angry. Lu Zixi smiled slightly, and her expression was gentle and elegant. Everyone in the square looked at her with admiration and worshipped her as a goddess. Lu Zixi had long been accustomed to this, so she took it for granted. However, in this square, there was also a person who was obviously a young man, but he had a more beautiful and delicate face than her. He was obviously at the foundation establishment stage, but he was more talented than her. Moreover, he looked at her with calm eyes like he was looking at a beggar, even more contempt than beggars. How could this make Lu Zixi reconciled? How could she not hate her? Lu Zixi took a deep breath and spoke to Hashi. "You, didn't you see Elder Qin standing behind you? You should know that if you dodge, Elder Qin will definitely be hurt." Before Hashi could speak, Qing Luan's indignant voice suddenly sounded behind her. "Miss Lu, according to your words, my young master should stand motionless in front of Elder Qin and be poisoned to death by Feng Yunqing? My young master's life is not life? Since Miss Lu is so kind and righteous, why didn't you block the water arrow for Elder Qin? How can you be so high-sounding?" Hashi was stunned for a moment. Then she saw Qing Luan trembling with anger. She smiled and said, "Why did you come here?" Qing Luan clenched her fists and said, "I noticed that you haven't come back until noon, so I came to have a look. I didn't expect to see so many people working together to bully you." She pointed to Lu Zixi and said indignantly, "Who is this fairy Zixi? She lost to my young master in medical skills in Yangon City. How could she question my young master for cheating? You dare to say that you can beat my young master in medical skills?" Lu Zixi face turned unsightly. She gritted her teeth with a flushed face, as if she had been slapped fiercely in the public. However, when she looked at Shiyu's half-smile, she really did not dare to refute, because she was completely unsure of being better than Shiyu in medical skills. Qing Luan turned her eyes to the group of candidates who were in the same assessment as Hashi and scolded fiercely, "And you ungrateful people! Did you forget who saved you from the desperate secret realm? My young master even almost died in the stomach of the black bear, just for you trash. Now you all accuse my young master of cheating? Pooey." She turned her eyes around and cursed. "You better see clearly what kind of villains these people are. Stay away from them in the future, lest you save them, but they drag you down instead." The few freshmen who participated in the assessment with Shiyu looked shameful after hearing the words. They were angry, but they couldn't refute Qing Luan's words at all. Especially looking at the subtle gazes of the surrounding students, they really wished to dig a hole and burrow their heads into it. At this moment, they all looked at Qian Jianqing fiercely. If it wasn't for this person's instigation, they would not have suspected Shiyu and spoke ill of Shiyu at all. But now the result of the fight proved that Shiyu was actually stronger than Feng Yunqing, which meant that it was unlikely that he cheated. Chapter 1170. Revenge. Instead, they were given the title of ungrateful people. From now on, they had to lay low in the academy. How could this make them hateful? Qian Jianqing, who was hit by everyone with an eye knife, was originally moaning on the ground because of his broken ribs. Suddenly, his face changed greatly, and a sharp wailing came out of his mouth. The onlookers were all taken aback by his reaction. Before anyone could check what happened, they saw his appearance aging at a speed visible to the naked eye. Originally, Qian Jianqing was under 30 years old, and he was at the peak of the meridian stage. Although he looked rather old, he was at most in his 30s. But now, he looked as if he was 50 years old. His face was full of wrinkles. Qian Jianqing looked at his shriveled hands, and his whole body was trembling with fright. He suddenly remembered the pill Feng Yunqing gave him, and he immediately crawled toward Feng Yunqing frantically. "What did you give me to eat? Why will I turn into this look? Give me the antidote. Give me the antidote." Feng Yunqing's situation at this time was not much better than that of Qian Jianqing. Her shoulder was pierced by Hushi's sword, and she was bleeding heavily. She seemed to have lost her strength. However, when she heard Qian Jianqing's words, there was still a hint of panic in her eyes. She said, "Qian Jianqing, what nonsense are you talking about? When did I give you medicine? You were injured by Shiyu yourself, so you should go to Shiyu." "No, it's not Shiyu. You gave me the secret medicine to improve my power for a short time, and you said that I could defeat Shiyu by taking it. You must have done something in that medicine, right?" Qian Jianqing at this time, not only did he feel old, but he felt uncomfortable as if he was on fire. He screamed, "You're afraid that I will say that you pushed Shiyu in the secret realm, so you want to kill me. That's right, Feng Yunqing. You want to kill me. I won't let you succeed." As soon as these words came out, the students in the audience were in an uproar. Everyone's expressions changed when they looked Feng Yunqing, especially those freshmen who participated in this assessment together. They stared at Feng Yunqing in disbelief, wishing to tear him to pieces. Hushi looked at Feng Yunqing coldly and said slowly, "The other person who pushed me is really you. Feng Yunqing, are you trying to kill me because of the enmity between the Feng family and me?" Feng Yunqing's expression changed, and it took a long time before she gritted her teeth and sneered, "It has nothing to do with the Feng family. It's just that you killed my eldest brother. Can't I seek revenge from you?" "Your brother?" "That's right. My eldest brother's name is Feng Yunhai." Feng Yunqing glared at Hushi. "Shiyu, you are a busy man. I bet you have long forgotten that on the Breaking Spirit Mountain, such a person died at your hands." It was even a horrible death. But my eldest brother loved me since I was a child and gave me the best resources. Of course, I want to avenge him. I only hate that I'm not good enough and I underestimated you. I can't kill you with my own hands." Hushi raised her eyebrows, and her expression was indifferent and cruel. She didn't intend to explain at all. This was a world where the strong prey on the weak. Even if she killed Feng Yunhai, there was nothing she could change. But Lu Jishi took a step forward and frowned. "Shiyu, you are too ruthless. You watched your companions get killed by the poisonous spiritual bee in elusive forest, and now you even severely injured your batchmate. Now that Feng Yunqing accused you of killing her brother, you don't even feel any guilt. Even if you have such strength, aren't you being too conscienceless?" Chapter 1171. Who else? As soon as Lu Jishi said this, people, who had changed their minds due to Shiyu's strength, started to talk about her again. The eyes looking at Shiyu were not amazed and praised, but full of fear and rejection. Qing Wan was trembling with anger, and she said angrily, "Miss Lu, you keep saying that my young master is heartless? Why didn't you say it when Feng Yunqing wanted to kill my young master? When everyone felt that my young master would and even died in the previous battle, why didn't you show your compassion?" It turns out that Fairy Jishi's kindness and compassion also vary from person to person. Lu Jishi was speechless again for a while. Her eyes turned dark and unsightly. It wasn't that she had nothing to refute, but she thought very highly of herself and felt that refuting a maid would lower her style. Ren Shuling, who could help her talk usually, was so frightened by Shiyu that she let Jishi be humiliated by a lowly maid. Hushi sneered, stopped Qing Wan, who wanted to talk more, and said lightly, "Does me being heartless related to our core topic today? What I want now is for you to show evidence of my cheating. Who else is dissatisfied now? Stand out now, otherwise it will be my turn to settle the accounts with you." When Hushi said these words, she was looking at Elder Qin with mockery. The blue veins on Elder Qin's forehead were twitching violently. The boy in green clothes next to Elder Qin stepped forward and said angrily, "Shiyu, so what if your strength is good? That doesn't prove that you didn't sneak in medicinal pills. You can defeat the Black Bear and Feng Yunqing because you took the secret medicine beforehand." Hushi was about to be amused by the nonsense of this group of people. She pointed at Chen Jiancheng and sneered. You have also seen the fate of those who actually took the secret medicine. You said that I took the secret medicine? Hee hee, forgive my ignorance. You can ask our president. Her father is the president of the Doctors Association and a doctor of the 10th rank. Can anyone answer if there is such a medicinal pill that can increase one's strength by 2 realms without any side effects? Everyone's eyes couldn't help but look at Chen Jianqing. Needless to say, his strength didn't improve that much, and his miserable appearance was a solid proof. Now, although Chen Jianqing no longer groaned in pain, he was much weaker. Even his cultivation had degenerated to the intermediate stage of the condensation period. Obviously, the side effects were very serious. In fact, the secret medicine Feng Yunqing gave to Chen Jianqing was derived from cold eating pills. Although it would not be addictive, the side effects of taking it would be more serious and would occur immediately. Everyone in the square fell silent. Several deans looked at each other and shook their heads. Based on their medical level, it was reasonable to say that they were at the top in Miluo continent, but they had never heard of such a medicinal pill that could improve one's strength in a short period of time. Among the people present, the faces of Elder Qin and the Heaven Medical Branch's dean looked very unsightly. At this time, Heaven Medical Branch Dean even regretted his bowels. He knew that Shiyu was such a genius, and he would not let anyone run away no matter what. Against the Gold Core stage with the Foundation Establishment stage, this is even more terrifying than Lu Jishi, a peerless genius that is rare for thousands of years. Chapter 1172. Check assessment papers. The happiest of all was Zhang Shouyue. The more he saw Shiyu, the more delighted he was. He stroked his beard and laughed. How? Now that the fights are over and the mastermind behind the scenes has also been caught, does Elder Qin have any other ideas? The corner of Elder Qin's mouth twitched for a while, and he gritted his teeth and said, having strength does not mean that you didn't cheat. I will investigate this matter carefully. We will dismiss here today. Wait a minute. Hushi sneered, interrupting Elder Qin's words. Elder Qin, your high opinion is finished, but I haven't finished speaking yet. Elder Qin's face was ashen. What else do you want to say? Elder Qin is really a busy person who forgets things. Hushi sneered at him. I applied to check the assessment paper for the written assessment 10 days ago, and Elder Qin said that I will be able to check it after I enter the academy. May I ask, can I check now? Zhang Shouyue was startled and looked at Hushi. You want to check the written assessment paper? Is there something wrong with your grades? Hushi said with a half-smile. Whether there is any problem, we will know if we check it. Zhang Shouyue turned his eyes on Chen Jianqing, who was in a bad state. He suddenly remembered that this Chen Jianqing was the top scorer in the written assessment. He even scored an unprecedented 999 points in the Miracle Healer Academy. Looking at this person with a useless look, he doesn't look like a peerless genius at all. On the other hand, this Shiyu that I like can beat the Gold Core stage at a young age. Zhang Shouyue's eyes lit up, and he immediately said, yes, students do have the right to check their papers. Now everyone is here, why don't you take out the assessment papers and let everyone present be a witness to see if Shiyu cheated or not? Elder Qin frowned and was about to speak. Then Lu Jishi suddenly stepped forward and said, Shiyu has her right to check the papers. The papers should be in the Academy Student Council. I'll let someone get them. Wait. Qing Luan interrupted Lu Jishi mercilessly. You kept targeting my young master just now. Who knows you will not change the test paper on the way. Zhang Shouyue also nodded immediately, and he waved to the boy behind him. You go with the secretary of the Academy Student Council. Be sure to bring back the written assessment papers intact. Lu Jishi's face turned green, but she couldn't say a word in the end. Kai Yu and Zhang Chong, who were not far away, looked even more despair than Lu Jishi. Kai Yu's face turned pale for a while. He tried to maintain his composure, but his clenched hands betrayed his emotions. On the other hand, Zhang Chong lowered his head, his body trembled slightly, and his feet kept moving as if he wanted to escape from this place. As for Chan Jinqing on the ground, he already had a mental breakdown, knowing that he could no longer escape. Shiyu's cheating had been dealt with in this square for several hours, but none of the onlookers had left. Everyone was stunned by the twists and turns. The papers of all the examinees were quickly taken over. Elder Qin took the test paper from the Academy Student Council officer and looked at Hushi coldly. "What's your dissatisfaction with your grades? Do you want to tell me that your grade is mistaken with someone else's grade, and it's even Chen Jiansheng who scored 999, right?" Chapter 1173. What kind of genius? Elder Qin's words were full of irony, but Hushi smiled leisurely. Elder Qin is really discerning. You are right. What I want to check is exactly the papers of Chen Jianqing and I. Haha. Elder Qin laughed angrily, looking at her like a lunatic. Shiyu, do you think you are really a genius because you won the gold core stage in a fight? You think your assessment paper has exchanged with Chen Jianqing? How can there be such a coincidence? Hushi smirked without shame, glanced across Kai-Yu and Zhang Chong and said with a slight smile, "Why is Elder Qin so agitated? We will know if our papers had exchanged once we check it. After all, there was an invigilator behind every examinee. Even if the invigilator didn't see clearly, he can always recognize the patterns, right? Of course, it doesn't matter if they can't recognize it. At least, the handwriting of Chen Jianqing and I can always be proofread on the spot, right? If it really doesn't work, we can check all the questions on the paper." Deputy President Kai, what do you think? Kai-Yu raised his head and met Hushi's eyes that seemed to be able to see through everything, only to feel a cold sweat on his back. Guilt and panic surged wildly in his mind. Along the way, Shiyu had brought him too much surprise and shock. If it weren't for Jishi, he would probably only admire such a genius instead of framing her. But now, it was too late. Zhang Chang's face was even more ashen, but he was more relieved after the truth was finally exposed. When he thought that Shiyu might check the assessment paper, he was so nervous that he couldn't sleep the whole night. Now that he found that everything could no longer be concealed, he actually felt relieved. Zhang Chong suddenly stepped forward and said, "Shiyu is not wrong. It is indeed because of my mistakes that the two assessment papers were exchanged. The person who really scored 999 points in the assessment was Shiyu, and the one with 503 points was Chen Jianqing." As soon as Zhang Chong said this, the whole square was boiling. A young man at the foundation establishment stage not only won the fight against a gold core stage, but he also scored the highest score in the history of Miracle Healer Academy. This Shiyu. What kind of genius is this Shiyu? Does such a genius really need to cheat? And those deans looked at Shiyu with gleaming eyes, wishing they could snatch her immediately. Having such a genius in their own branches meant that they could shine in the branch competition and they could rise further. How could they not be moved by this? The Dean of Heaven Medical Branch had gritted his teeth regretfully at this time. He looked at Elder Qin with a vengeful gaze. Such a good seedling that is rarely seen in thousands of years. I actually expelled him. Elder Qin glared at Zhang Chong and said coldly, "Zhang Chong, what do you mean by this?" Did you collude with Shiyu? So you spoke for him? Miracle Healer Academy's assessment and review process has always been strict. How can the assessment papers be exchanged? You'd better explain it to me. Zhang Chong's face was full of bitterness. He closed his eyes, and when he opened his eyes again, his face was firm. "It's all my fault. I accidentally bumped into Deputy President Kai while collecting the papers. I didn't check it carefully when I picked it up and handed the paper." Chapter 1174. Apologize. He bit his lip, glanced at Kai-Yu, and continued. "After the results were released, I knew that I had made a mistake, but I was afraid that the Academy would hold me accountable, so I never dared to say it. It has nothing to do with Deputy President Kai. He didn't read the content of Shiyu's answer sheet during the assessment, so he didn't know how much Shiyu scored. It was me. I knew that Qin Jianqing couldn't have scored 999 points, but I didn't dare to speak out for fear of being punished. Zhang Chang's voice was slightly sobbing. He lowered his head and said, "It is my mistake that caused Shiyu's troubles. I'm willing to accept any punishment." The square was silent, and everyone was looking at Zhang Chong, Lu Zhishi, Kai Yu, and others. Someone whispered, "That is the most important entrance examination. But the people of the Academy Student Council are actually so irresponsible." Yeah, right. They didn't know the Black Bear went rampant and even framed Shiyu for cheating. Does the Academy Student Council have the ability to lead the students of the entire academy? Did Kai Yu really not read Shiyu's answer sheet? Then he really wasn't serious in it. Or did he read it and deliberately didn't say it out of jealousy? That Chen Jianqing is too disgusting. He knew that he didn't score that, but he still showed off with the title of top scorer and even entered the Academy Student Council. No wonder I always feel something wrong in him. Hayes, Shiyu is the most pitiful. At first, he was framed for cheating. Only now he realizes that even his grades have been changed. Lu Zhishi bit her lips tightly, feeling that she was enveloped in shame and malice. The Academy Student Council and she as the president had always been high and respected at Miracle Healer Academy. But now, everyone was beginning to question their ability and character. She seemed to see the day when she was dragged down from the heaven because of Shiyu. She absolutely wouldn't allow this to happen. At this moment, Kai suddenly gritted his teeth and took a step forward. This matter is not only Zhang Chang's fault. Lu Zhishi suddenly came back to her senses and said without thinking, "This incident is the dereliction of duty by our Academy Student Council as a whole, not Zhang Chang's fault alone. Therefore, on behalf of the Academy Student Council, I'm here to apologize to everyone. For Zhang Chang's mistakes, we will also make corresponding penalties." Kaiyu's face looked pale. He seemed to want to say something, but Lu Zhishi grabbed him and stopped him with her eyes. Kaiyu's eyes swept across Zhang Chong and Shiyu's faces, and he finally lowered his head in shame. Qing Wan sneered and said, "President Lu is really strange. The people of your Academy Student Council obviously mistreated my young master. Why are you apologizing to everyone? Before that, shouldn't you apologize to my young master first?" Lu Zhishi's eyes flickered with darkness for a while. Asking her to apologize to Shiyu was more painful than plucking out her heart. But with so many people looking at her in the square, she couldn't escape it all. Lu Zhishi took a deep breath, walked in front of Hushi, and leaned over slowly. "Shiyu, I'm sorry. It was our Academy Student Council's misconduct that wronged you." But, she paused and said, "Shiyu, if you knew that there was a problem with your score, why didn't you report it to the invigilator as soon as the results of the written assessment were announced? In this way, we can deal with the problem earlier, and it didn't have to develop into the current situation. Can you explain that?" You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.